I'd never backed a game on Kickstarter before I backed Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. I always knew that there was a risk that the end product would not live up to the anticipation from the initial hype, especially as this was a spiritual successor to a series I had never played a single game from. Nonetheless, I backed the project and have the complete opposite of regrets now. Seriously, if I could go back in time to when I chose to back the project, I would consider maybe even upping my pledge. This game looks that good. I'd also maybe consider the getting your cat at the game tier, but I guess I'll just have to wait for a future game to feature Her Majesty, the Queen, Steris. All in all, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes seems like a special game, and I'm so excited to see it finally coming to the gaming public. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is a turn-based combat RPG developed by Rabbit & Bear Studios and published by 505 Games. The developers are a group led by notable staff members from the classic RPG series Suikoden, including the series creator Yoshitaka Murayama, who unfortunately passed away in February of 2024 before the game's release. The game was initially announced via Kickstarter in 2020 with a funding goal of $500,000. By the end of the campaign, they had raised over $4.5 million. In the wait for the main game release, a different developer using elements from the main game created a spin-off title called Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which came out in May of 2022. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes was initially set to release in 2023, but was delayed to 2024. Finally, we got a proper release date announcement. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes will release on April 23, 2024 for Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC, along with a day one release on the Xbox Game Pass. For those who backed the game, beta access via Steam began on March 14, 2024, which I naturally played. As per request by the developers though, none of the footage for this video is from that beta. The continent of Alron is home to many beings. Humans, beastmen, sharks, elves, the list goes on, and the power of the nations is backed by the magical rune lenses. In order to get more power, the Galdian Empire is investing more and more into finding rune lenses to extend their empire, and in particular searching for the primal lens that will exponentially increase their power and influence. The main plot of the game centers on three characters. Noah, a village boy who joins a group called the Watch that teams up with a team from the Empire led by one of our other main characters, Sane. They quickly form a bond that they both will remember the next time they come into contact. The third main character is Marissa, a member of the Guardians clan that protects the rune barrows threatened by the Empire's lust for power. Over time, our three lead characters join up and move to recruit allies to muster a force to stop the Empire's unending march towards total control. Over 100 allies are available for our heroes to find and recruit, each with their own unique background and story. Can they together find a way to a new peaceful Alron, and how will each of their stories end? Murayama, may his memory be a blessing, is known for his intricate world building and political intrigue in his writing. The Suikoden series is full of this, and the expectation and hope is that Eiyuden Chronicle also has that depth. At the moment, in the publicly available information, it seems the developers are keeping their cards close to the chest about how the story unfolds and develops, and I'm okay with that. There are a lot of details that are out there and plenty that we can speculate on top of that, but by not revealing too much, it allows us as players to discover and experience the story for ourselves. Beyond that though, much of the game's story will hinge on the characters being interesting, memorable, and lovable. We know there's going to be a huge quantity of characters in the game, but will they have the depth that makes it worth getting to know them? I hope so. At the very least, they have incredible designs, and I enjoyed the writing of the characters we saw in Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which gives me hope for 100 Heroes writing and characters. The beta especially helped alleviate any doubts I had, as every character I met was memorable and fun to see interact with Noah and the rest of the cast. The game is definitely off to a good start on its character writing. The recruitment of the characters was also an area I was interested in seeing in the beta, and I enjoyed the variety of recruitment styles. Some of the characters had really quick interactions with them and then they joined up. Others, there was a task or an entire quest line to complete. There's gonna be a lot of these with all the characters available to recruit, so might as well make them fun, and I do think the variety serves the game overall. When it comes to battle, you can use up to 6 characters in your main party to take on the various enemies. Both enemies and allies are split up into a front and back row, which limits who can attack and be attacked based on their positioning. Some allies can only attack from a specific row, so choose your positioning wisely for each battle. At the beginning of battle, you select all of your character's actions for that round. Pay attention to the turn order bar at the top of the screen and you'll be in a good position to win. The commands you can do are pretty standard, with attack, rune lens, which is pretty much just abilities and magic, defend, item, and finally, hero combo. The main distinguisher between the characters comes with their rune lenses, which enables them to use strong abilities or magic. For instance, Sane has a sword rain ability that can hit multiple enemies and do significant damage, as well as show off a flashy animation. These abilities are determined either by SP, which increases each round of combat you have, or MP, which is used by characters like Hildy to heal the party amongst other abilities. For a lot of standard battles, these won't come into play because you can easily defeat them in a round or two, which is why the auto battle option is your friend, so you don't have to spend so much time selecting actions. For longer battles, or just because you feel like seeing them, the hero combos will come into play. Characters with a strong bond can combine their turns to do a devastatingly effective ability. You do have to make sure each character has enough SP, but when it's time, you can unleash your fury upon your foes. It also sounds like there are many combinations of heroes that can gain hero combos, and I look forward to playing around with them and discovering new ones. That pretty much covers our side of the combat, so let's talk more about the enemies we'll be facing. Most enemies will be very straightforward to deal with, but the bosses are another matter. In every boss battle I fought in the beta, there was a gimmick that came into play, usually in the latter half of combat. These gimmicks range from rocks to hide behind, to giant hammers to use to whack the enemies and gain an advantage to start off combat. It definitely makes for memorable battles, along with the longer sequences that require a more careful planning out of moves. I'm interested to see how these gimmicks will work throughout the game, as it was fun to work with them so far, but as with gimmicks in any other game, there's a chance for a swing and a miss to make a particular boss battle a drag. Here's hoping that the game hits far more often than it misses. While standard combat is important, it is not the only form of gameplay found in Eiyuden Chronicle Hundred Heroes. There are the duels that pit one character against another. There's still not too much information on how that will work exactly, but for those curious, the Suikoden games had this mechanic, so I imagine there will be similarities to how it worked there and how it will work in EC. Then we have War Mode, a mode that turns the game from turn-based RPG to a hybrid turn-based RTS experience where you command troops from on high as your characters lead units in battle. Like with the duels, I don't have first-hand knowledge of how this works, so I have to go just off of what I can see in the trailers. The dynamic conversations mentioned seem fun, and I hope that each character can bring unique things to War Mode just as they do normal battles. If all this main gameplay wasn't enough though, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is absolutely jam-packed with side content as promised in the initial Kickstarter. That starts with your base, called the Headquarters, that you can develop over time by recruiting support staff and upgrading various areas. Some of the minigames and activities you can engage with include a spinning top game reminiscent of Beyblades, fishing, racing creatures, cooking, and a card game. Then on top of that, you'll have hot springs, theater, and other chances to see our heroes in a calmer, more peaceful setting. Everyone deserves a respite, and it will give another chance to see the varied cast in action. The first thing that stands out to me for Eiyuden Chronicle's presentation is how colorful the game is. Everything from character and enemy design to the various locations and settings you walk through are filled with rich colors all across the spectrum. I see this as a huge benefit for the game, but it's hard to argue that it wasn't necessary given the variety of character types they had to fit into the game. You gotta make your anthropomorphic sharks as seamless a fit into the world as your standard humans, and in order to make everything visually coherent, making a more vibrant, lush world makes sense. The character designs especially have so much personality to them, it really helps in distinguishing between this huge cast. Add on the detailed architecture in the towns and the halls and areas of the various dungeons, and you've got a visual treat for the eyes. There is so much to see if you take the time to look around each area. The UI is also easy to understand and read, when they bother to explain some things. At least in the beta, there were a few things that the game didn't directly explain through even tutorials, and you could only find in the help menu if you went searching. Hopefully the main game fixes this, but the UI design and clarity is strong otherwise. The user experience also has some progress that could happen, but it's hard to say if there's stuff that just wasn't part of the first few hours of the game. No fast travel, but the distances at the start between locations aren't significant, and no sprint button while running around, but the general movement pace isn't too bad. Moving past the sights and feel of the game, let's talk about the sounds. The music I've heard so far is very nice, with special shoutouts to Flags of the Brave, which has played in some of the trailers and sounds suitably epic. That's what you get when you get the singer from Xenoblade 1's closing song for your theme. I can't wait to hear the full version. While the music is great, you'd best get used to it because it sounds like various themes, including the town theme, are used for every town. I hope over the course of the full game there will be more variety, but it may not happen, and while I don't expect every game to have Octopath levels of location-specific music, I do think it would really help this adventure to have more variety. As for the voice acting, there have been plenty of people with thoughts on it from the beta, but here's mine. I like it. I especially like the variety in the English dub of accents. It really helps make the world feel broader and lends to the idea that this is a vast world populated by very different people. I think this is a benefit that the Xenoblade games get from their various accents in the English dub, and Eiyuden Chronicle takes it even further. As for the performances themselves, the overall quality is good and lively. With a cast this large, I'm sure there are going to be some performances that don't feel right, but I'm just glad to hear so many of these voices, especially from performers I've never heard before. While there are some areas that could use some more details, I think the general presentation for Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is high quality, and I still have hope that it could be even better once the full game releases. There you have it, part hype up video, part review of the beta, and hopefully all fun. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes has me hooked already, which is a bit unfortunate since we still have some time to go before it releases, but I'm really excited to get my hands on the game. For those who have played / are playing the beta, what are your thoughts on what we've seen so far? For those who didn't back the game in the Kickstarter, are you planning on getting the game? What are the things you want to know more about from War Mode to the base? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments, and while you're scrolling down there, if you could give a moment to like the video and subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I've also recently started streaming over on Twitch, so follow the link in the description to go and follow me there as well. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and happy gaming.